It was 2003, so Beyonce was secretly dating Jay-Z at the time, but it was kind of known. So we did her chart, and she did not want to leave. She kept like wanting more. And Tali was like, should we do a comparison chart for you and you know who? And she was like, yes.
I'm Amy Porterfield, ex-corporate girl turned CEO of a multi-seven-figure business. But it wasn't all that long ago that I lacked the confidence, the budget, and the time to focus on growing my small but mighty business. Fast forward past many failed attempts and lessons learned, and you'll see the business I have today. One that changes lives and gives me more freedom than I ever thought possible. One that used to only exist as a daydream. I created the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast to give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you do the same. If you're an ambitious entrepreneur or one in the making who's looking to create a business that makes an impact and a life you love, you're in the right place, friend. Let's get started. Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Online Marketing Made Easy. I'm excited for today's episode because this is very different than what I normally talk about on this podcast. But I think it's important because not only is it important to build a business you love, but a business that is unique to you as an entrepreneur. And I hear it over and over again. I know you want to build a business on your terms, a business that feels good to you, that feels like you. And when we look at what everyone else is doing, it feels almost impossible to find our own way, to do things on our terms, because we're so influenced by how everybody else is doing it. And I get that. I've so been there. But I also know how important it is to show up as your true self throughout all you do in your business, including your marketing. So I'm going to help you do that today. Today's guest, Ophira Edut, most of us call her Ophi, is known as being one of the AstroTwins with her sister, Tali. And Ophi is here today to share her knowledge as an astrologer and intuitive advisor. Now, right there, I just know that I could have lost some of you. I know it because believe me, I might have in the past kind of rolled my eyes like, what? And what does this have to do with business? Stay with me here because I want to tell you about a really cool assessment that I took that really has helped me understand who I am and who I'm not and how I'd use that in my business. So just stay with me here. I promise you're going to get a lot of value, even if you've never, ever looked into astrology. So the AstroTwins are longtime resident astrologers for Elle magazine, and they're authors of over 20 books. When I saw that, I told her, I wrote one book and I don't know if I could ever do it again. I don't know how you did 20. And they advise a roster of CEOs, celebrities, global leaders, and successful entrepreneurs, including, just get ready for this. Are you ready? Beyonce, Dua Lipa, and Emma Roberts. What? I mean, come on. Beyonce. Yeah, you heard me right. We're going to talk about that in this episode because I needed to ask a little bit more. And speaking of this episode, Ophi will be introducing us to the AstroTwins' revolutionary I Am system. I call it an assessment. It's a tool, really. It's similar to Enneagram or Myers-Briggs, but it's different. And we're going to talk about how it's different and how you can use it, but it's really good. And I cannot wait for you to take the assessment. It's free. Stay with me here. We'll talk about it first. So I'm excited to hear more about Ophi's years of experience and to learn how you can curate your business to align with your unique talents. Let's dive in. Well, hello, my friend. Welcome to the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast.
Hello.
This is going to be a different podcast than I have ever done. However, I know it's going to be very unique and valuable, and people are going to be like, wait a second, like, tell me more. I have no doubt. But because this is such a different topic for my podcast, I want to just start out with who you are, what you're about. I know you're a dynamic duo. You have a partner. And so I want to talk about all of that before we dive in. So give it to me.
Okay. Well, yes, I am the 4 minutes younger identical twin of my twin sister, and I were both born with bizarro photographic memories. And we went to the University of Michigan, studied art, grew up in Detroit. And while we were there, my college boyfriend gifted me an astrology chart for my 21st birthday. And it utterly changed everything in my life because I learned that human beings did actually come with instructions, or at least a roadmap. And I started using it, giving my friends love advice because we were in our 20s, and then career and other things. And I just was like, okay, I don't know why this works, but it does. So my twin sister Tali and I were working in publishing, doing women's magazines, and, you know, giving all of our coworkers astrology readings for fun. And one of them ended up at Teen People magazine in the early 2000s, gave us a column there. I was working for Gloria Steinem at Ms. Magazine.
Whoa, that's a
Yeah,
big deal.
that was a
That's
big
very
deal.
cool.
And I left for .com and then left for astrology and just applied all the things that I had learned from publishing and empowering people into the stars. That's a very condensed version of it. But suffice to say, my twin sister Tali and I go as the AstroTwins. And we now have several million readers on our website every month and have been writing the horoscopes for Elle for, I guess, 15 years now. Online courses. The one I'm most proud of that's probably relevant here is called Astropreneurs. And it grew out of being an affiliate for Marie Forleo's B School, like you.
You were a very, very big testimonial for B School back in the day. I mean, you've done amazing things since, but I remember when you came out as one of her testimonials from B School, and I'm like, wait, what, AstroTwins? Like, I need to know more about this. It was just such
awesome.
a cool business that you'd created.
Thank you. You know, I love that because there are people who have ideas that seem weird and out there that can actually be businesses. You always say it. If you have a niche that you're serving, then why not give it to them in the way that they want it?
So, okay, I have some questions. I have lots of questions for you, but I want to back up to the very first thing you said, which was you and your sister were born with photographic, what is it called?
Photographic memories.
Photographic memories. What does that mean? I know this has nothing to do with the podcast, but I'm very curious. What does that look like for you?
It means like I could run into somebody that I met 20 years ago and remember that they were born on November 16th, 1975, for example.
Wow.
Or when I see someone's astrological chart, and she has this too, it's like kind of gets branded and imprinted on my brain. So our minds are these weird databases. Maybe it's from like having someone else in the womb with you that you're communicating with early.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but whatever it is, it has been very useful in my career.
I'm assuming it has served you well.
Yes.
Even just the idea of remembering things about someone 20 years ago, and that just makes you seem very thoughtful. I recently went and got my hair done, and I hadn't seen the woman in a few weeks. I don't even know her. I just had her one time, and she referenced something about me, and I thought, that is very cool that you remembered that. So if that was something I was just born with, I would love that talent. So I think that's very cool. Now, with the astrology, that is not necessarily something you were born with, but something that you learned. Is it have anything to do with like being a psychic at all? Like, is that connected? I know this is a weird question, but
no, I love the question.
Like, I don't know anything about astrology, so talk to me.
And I really love talking to people who don't know anything about astrology but are curious, because our upcoming book, which we're going to talk about, is made for exactly that person. And that's what I am most lit up about. It's a specialty, and I just took to it. It was like a language. It made sense to me. As soon as I started reading it, it just was like it downloaded. And it happened to my sister too. So it must, I don't know, I won't go there yet, but I kind of believe in past lives. Not even kind of, I do, from looking at thousands of charts. So if I look at my birth chart and think about that, it makes total sense. that will not make sense to your average listener here, though.
Got it. That there's something about you and your past lives and just about you and your sister that makes you unique to be able to do what you do.
Yeah, like, in the same way that you have your strengths, you're a natural marketer. Sure, you had to learn some of the rules of it, but it was within you, right?
Yes.
So it's the same idea. It came from inside of you, and then you found a system or a modality to amplify that.
Got it. Okay. So help me understand how understanding astrology and being an entrepreneur, how those can be aligned in the work you do and how that comes about.
Yeah. Well, there's a statistic that the average person makes 35,000 decisions a day. I don't know if you've heard that one.
That's just no wonder we're all exhausted.
Yeah, exactly. I think like over 2,000 of them are about food. And then 95% of them apparently are made with our subconscious. So we don't even know what we're carrying around, our poor brains. And I feel like entrepreneurs probably make 70,000 decisions a day.
Yes.
So where astrology became really helpful was at a certain point in my career, I started doing readings. The story about that one of my first readings was for Beyonce.
That is wild. When I read that, I thought, what in the world? How did that even come about? Can you tell us how you were able to do a reading for Beyonce?
Yeah, it's all scrappy entrepreneur
Love it.
stories. So my very first book came out in 2003 about astrology, and someone found it at a store and invited me and Tali to go to do readings for celebrities at the Billboard Music Awards. We're like, yeah, okay, sure. And then she's like, okay, well, it's $10,000 for the table. I was like, wah, wah, record scratch. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have that. And she called me back the next day and was like, you know what? I think it would be really nice for them to just have this treat. Why don't you just get yourself to Vegas and we'll waive the fee?
That's cool.
I was like, okay, I don't know who I have to like beg, borrow, and steal from, but I'm going to I'm going there. And so we were in this backstage room and all the celebs came through. It was 2003, so Beyonce was secretly dating Jay-Z at the time, but it was kind of known. So we did her chart and she did not want to leave. She kept like wanting more, and in a really cool way. She was so nice. And Tali was like, should we do a comparison chart for you and you know who? And she was like, yes.
Gosh.
It was a 2-day thing too. She was so nice. The next day, she was running to her on stage and she saw me and stopped and was like, I stayed up late reading that report. It was so fascinating.
That is cool. This is why I love it, because there's so much, and tell me if you agree with this, there's so much you could learn about yourself and how you navigate the world and your strengths and your weaknesses that I know you say this. I was studying your website and studying the book. It feels like the Enneagram.
Exactly. It totally is. And I know you're a 2. Actually, the Enneagrams all link up with the planet too. So we
I
even
didn't
have a
know
little
that.
post.
And also, so this is really weird. I always thought I was a 2, but actually I didn't always think I was 2. I was a 2 on the Enneagram when I took the quiz, and there were things about it people would say, and I was like, that doesn't feel like me, but it said I was a 2. But years and years later, I took it again, and it was so clear that I was a 3. I identified with everything.
That makes total sense.
Right? But with a 2 wing. And so also, I guess that makes me think, and I know we're going everywhere right now. I'll get us back on track. But with astrology, because it's your birth date, right? Like,
yeah,
it's based on that. Does it ever change?
Nope, it never
So
changes.
it never changes. Where the Enneagram, I took the quiz and it came out differently. This wouldn't change, right?
Yep. Nope,
Interesting.
it doesn't change. It does. There are different types of charts, like one called a progressed chart that ages, but it's like your exact moment of birth is that snapshot, that freeze frame when your soul incarnates and you're like, this is my roadmap for life. You have lots of free will, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like the rough guide. By the way, I learned that I was an Enneagram 3. I thought I was a 7. And
Okay, so you too had a
yes.
shift.
Yes. And I did like the proper test. I was like, all right, fine.
Same.
But that I would have thought you were a 3, actually. I've come up with the label that I call all of this stuff because it's all interconnected. I call it spiritual technology because that's how we're using it now. Enneagram, numerology, astrology, tarot. It is a form of technology. We're using it, or we can use it to navigate life. You can use it to understand yourself, but then you can also use it to make those 35,000 or however many decisions a day easier. People get frozen, they get overwhelmed, especially as entrepreneurs. I mean, your podcast I listen to religiously, it's gotten me unstuck and hopeful. And this is such the ultimate moment to get to be on here
I
because
love it.
like you and Marie Forleo, the things I've learned from you have really kept me going on my path. And I appreciate it so much. So, and knowing that we're all Sagittarians also makes me excited
I
too.
know. I do love that. I do love that. And knowing you are an entrepreneur through and through. So if you're using the data that you're getting in order to become a better entrepreneur, to show up bigger in the world, better in the world, I'm like very intrigued by it. So I fully interrupted you, but I was
No,
saying,
no, please direct us. Sages, we go all over the place.
how does astrology and business align? How can we use astrology to be better in business? And you were saying, so we were talking about Beyonce. That was one of your first readings, but keep me going.
Yes. So while I was coaching entrepreneurs and helping them through B school and to really metabolize the principles they were learning and stay in action, because I'm sure, as you know, when people go through your courses, retention is a big thing, making sure they don't just get overwhelmed and get discouraged. So astrology encourages people because it's like it's okay to do it your way. So as I was working with entrepreneurs, I realized, okay, learning their entire birth chart is too much information, especially when they're trying to learn business principles. So how can I find a shortcut so they can tap into the power of their whole birth chart, which includes more than just your zodiac sign? You're a Sagittarius, I'm a Sagittarius, but your full chart is a map of typically 13 points. There's your sun sign or your zodiac sign, your moon, which is the inner you, your rising sign, the outer you, all of the planets, and then 2 points called the north and south nodes, which are the destiny and purpose points. So there's a technique in astrology called the chart dominance, where you look at the composition of your chart and what are the dominant forces in there. And that's what we use to create a system that we call the I am system, where we distilled the chart into 3 archetypes like the Enneagram, like Myers-Briggs, so that you can tap into the power of astrology without having to become an astrologer. Astrology itself has a marketing problem. And as someone who is a passionate student of marketing and astrology, I was like, this is no good. This is the best system ever, and nobody can use it.
It's very overwhelming to me. You and I did have a session, and I've also had a session with human design. And I'm so overwhelmed. My mind just must not work like that. So I don't know what to do with it, especially with human design. I'm like, I don't know what to do with all this information. However, you sent me my I am system details, and it was fascinating. It resonated. I felt calm. I was like, I could do something with this. So I was really excited to have you on the show because I think so many of my listeners will find immense value if they take this assessment. And don't worry, everyone, we're going to tell you where to take the assessment, get all the details. It's free, but just stay with me here because I want you to understand why it's important before you take the assessment. So I love how you're right. I think astrology does have a marketing issue, but what you've put together here is so digestible and valuable.
Thank you. Thank you. We in our Astropreneurs program, which I ended up turning into a year-long program a few years after starting it in B school and piloting it, we did something called Astro audits, or jokingly we called it the dolphin tank because it was a gentler, kinder Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And
Dolphin tank, I love it.
one of our students, Shira, came up with that idea. So so someone would volunteer. They'd have kind of a half in progress business or one that was faltering, probably in the same place people are in when they come to Digital Course Academy. So like, this is working, this isn't, I don't know what the hell to do with social media, blah, blah, blah. And so we would overlay their I am and their chart details with the parts of their business. Like, you're using this language and it's not right. You need to tweak it this way. Or these images are too stuffy, or they're not formal enough, depending on your composition of your I am. So people would go back, tweak their businesses. We had one woman actually sold her business after making the tweak. Someone came in as a buyer, and then she and her husband retired and moved to Palm Springs. They had a chili
Yes.
pepper hot sauce business. It was so funny.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So is the goal, okay, so this I am system, you put in, wait, what kind of information do you put in to get?
Okay. Yep. So when you do your birth chart, you put in the same information as you do in the I am system. All it does is turn the birth chart into like a spreadsheet, like a different kind of chart, the kind that probably business-minded people are used to looking at, numbers that get scored and added up. So you put in your time, date, and place of birth. That's the city and country. The time you may or may not know, but do your best estimate, because it does impact one of the 13 factors in particular. If you don't know it, you just do your best. You can still get a lot of information from this. So it will tell you if you are an innovator, an authority, or a maven, or you could be a hybrid of the two. So do you want me to explain what that's derived from?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a way of grouping the 12 zodiac signs called the modalities or qualities. And what that shows is like the drivers, psychological and behavioral drivers of every sign, which are important in entrepreneurship because you're assessing your motivation and your personality. So it divides the signs up into seasons. So there are 4 signs that start every season: Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And those are called the cardinal signs. We rename them the innovators because they are the season starters. They're the hunters, the visionaries, the pioneers, the ones that take the risks and they live in the future. They envision something that hasn't even been invented yet. I'm an innovator, so I'm reinventing astrology in a way, or a system in there. But so if your chart, if the 13 points of your chart are mostly in cardinal signs, then you will be an innovator in the I am system.
So I want to point something out that I was like, wait, I'm confused. And then I got it. So I'm not going to tell you all what I am yet. We're going to talk about that at the end, but I'm not an innovator. I'll tell you that. But when it says the signs, I thought, well, the Maven, it says Sagittarius, so I must be a Maven. But that's not how it's figured out.
Exactly. Nope. It takes your sun, moon, rising, Mercury through Pluto planets, and the 2 lunar nodes. Those are 2 points. So 13 points. I, too, as a Sagittarius, would be a Maven, but actually I'm the lowest on Maven.
Okay.
I have 6 innovator, 4 authority, and 3 Maven. And this is what's the most surprising to people.
Yes.
Because they may read, I would read descriptions of Sagittarius and I'm like, I am that. Yes, it is it is the main character of your chart. You are a Sag, but I'm a different type of Sag. I'm a Sagittarius who's always starting things and likes to be the CEO of my own company, likes to do things that a typical Sag might not. So that was a great question.
So your sign doesn't necessarily determine if you're an innovator, authority, or Maven.
No, it's just one of the data points, one of 13. Yep.
So you did innovator.
Did innovator. So authorities have the majority of their planets in what are called the fixed signs, the ones in the middle of the season: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So you think the innovator is the futurist who comes and with this big idea and we're going to do this. And then the authority comes in and is like, okay, great, but do we have a plan? Who's going to manage the project? Is there an Asana board? Is there a timeline, a schedule, an org chart? They make sure that, the hunt that comes back with the innovator gets produced into food that can feed everyone through the winter. And they hold down the fort. My integrator is an authority. And we really use this with our team. So much.
I'm very excited to give it to my team, especially my leadership team who I work the closest with. I'm dying to know what they are.
Oh, I can't wait. And I will gladly do assessments for you for them because It's so fun you really learn how to play to your strengths. So the authorities, their strength is that they're stabilizers and sustainers, of the experts. If you're an authority as an online business, it's really great for like a long-term proprietary system, a course. I bet you have a lot of authorities in Digital Course Academy.
I bet I do. Yeah.
But they can get a little stuck in the past or stuck in this linear step-by-step format. So the Mavens are the ones who have mostly Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces in their chart. That's the mutable signs, the adapters, the finishers of the season. So they are the transition team, the marketing team, the social media team. If you're low on Maven, as I am, you may be like, oh, do I really have to go on camera? But they are the ones who take the idea that the innovator sparked and the authority made mainstream and get everyone excited about it. So they sometimes don't get due credit because they seem like they're the kid misbehaving in class who can't sit still, but they're just waiting for the rest of us to finish our work so they can go and be the brand ambassadors and evangelists about it.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. So when you take the IM assessment, you're going to find out if you're an innovator, authority, or Maven. You might be a hybrid. Mine was pretty clear what I am, and we'll talk about it later because it's not as important as what this can do for everyone listening. But why? Okay, so when you figure out what you are in the assessment, you'll see your strengths, challenges, what you're motivated by, your path to success, keywords. Time zone was a weird one for me. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, I want to explain that for sure.
Explain time zone.
Yeah. So, and I am still searching for a better way to say that. But each of the IAMs has a time that they do best in. So innovators live in the future. They're always imagining what could be next, looking up at this imaginary movie screen over our heads. And they're often like 10 years ahead of the curve or coming up. So a frustration they may have is like watching someone else succeed at something that they thought of 20 years ago but couldn't articulate because it wasn't yet in the zeitgeist. Authority's time zone is the past because to become an authority, you're always building on one achievement and the next. You're aware of where you came from. That's directing where you're going. And then Mavens are in the present. So you're with a Maven if they're like the close talker that's 5 inches away from you and every single thing is the best thing ever. And then 5 minutes later, something else is. And they're exhilarating and exhausting in equal measure, but always fun. They're social, they're dynamic, and it really helps with the work because we, in our book, The Astrology Advantage, that has the whole IM system in it, I know we're going to talk about it, we have an ideal workspace actually designed for every IM. Like there's an environment that works best. Innovators have, I call it the satellite. They have like the desk they never sit at and a few other desks that they spread out on. The authority has a command center. It's one big desk, a room with a door. They call it the fortress. They do not mix work and play. They have their work room and then they go out to do their play. And usually bookshelf and minimal things behind them, maybe some framed awards, but it's like, I'm working and this is my center. And then the Mavens have what we call the lab. They need to have stations all over the place. Otherwise, you end up with a Maven mess. So anyone who lives or works with a Maven is familiar with their piles of things that they're always starting in the middle. And so they need to make their workspace like kind of like different stations that a prep cook would work at.
Gotcha. Oh my gosh. Everything you say about the one I am, I'm like, I 100% agree. Okay, so that's great. The time zone does make sense to me now. And then also there's the 4 elements of I am: fire, water, earth, and air. And the assessment will tell you which one, like kind of where you land. Like I landed high in fire and very low in water and air. So why is that important? Why is fire, water, earth, and air important to know where you land?
Yeah, those give nuances to the I am too. So, because it also is like what you're really getting to is like your core drivers and motivations. What I love about I am is that you don't have to take a quiz and answer 100 questions. Like to your point, you score differently on the Enneagram years apart. Or that's happened to me with Myers-Briggs before. And while I do believe people can change, it could also be like you were cranky the first time you took the quiz, or tired or hungover. Like this requires no quizzes, just your birth data. And so fire, earth, air, and water have different drivers as well. Fire is passionate, but can also burn everything down if there's too much of it. Earth can be grounding, but also gets stuck. Air moves and brings change, but can also scatter. And then water is feeling and compassionate, but can get also like drowning in too much emotion and feeling and not get anything done. So we jokingly call it Astro Ayurveda. Once you get your assessment, it's like if you're low on something, you can proactively balance it out by adding more of that, whether it's through a team member or practicing certain things. Me being low on Maven, I know I'm always going to resist doing social media. So I get extra training for that or set up structures to make sure I do it.
I love that. There's some things in my life that I've been just struggling with that haven't just felt like I could land the plane. Like there's something here. I don't know why I do this or why am I like that. But
Yes.
when I really trust in an assessment, and I've been friends with you forever and ever, and I know how brilliant your work is, I trust in this. And I look at this, and I would just want you all to know it's 100% me. So I want you to get excited that I really do believe that this is a beautiful assessment that tells you so much, but also, well, I'm going to just get to it. So I am an authority. That's the one that came up. I'm 55% authority, 20% innovator, 25% Maven. Not even surprised by any of that.
I wasn't either.
All right. But when I look at this, and why I wanted to bring it up now is there's this part about my strengths and challenges. And challenges like being too rigid, following instructions to the letter. Like I just had a situation yesterday where my social media manager and I went to a WeWork kind of place. It wasn't WeWork, but it was like that. And she wanted to go into this room that I know people had to pay for. It was like a room you take photographs and video in. And she just wanted to go in there for 10 minutes. We went in, but I knew we weren't supposed to be in there. And I was nervous the whole time. And I'm like, I didn't realize I'm such a rule follower, but it freaked me out. And of course, we got in trouble. She told us we weren't supposed to be in there. I knew it was going to happen, but I was very rigid and I was following instructions. And I don't think that always serves me, because when I watched Cece as my social media manager, I love that she was a rule breaker. I love that she's like, we're just going to do it. We got some great shots in there and it was all fine. We didn't hurt anyone. But when I take these assessments, it's so valuable to me to see my strengths and challenges. And my question for you is, if I'm more of an authority, much less of an innovator, I see where that screws me up. I see where I have a hard time thinking 10 years ahead. I have a hard time coming up with like tons of ideas that we can hash out and play around with. I'm more like one idea, let me get a process and system for it and let me crush it. And I see where that helps me, but I also see where that keeps me stuck. So what do I do about that? The fact that I am 20% innovator and I see myself struggle in that area, can I do anything about it based on the information?
Absolutely. And first of all, I just love that you were able to articulate that and be like, the first thing to do is give yourself that grace. Okay, I am not doing that because there's something wrong with me. I'm actually designed this way. So one of our taglines is become more of who you are, not less. But imagine, you know, you went through life thinking you only had one arm, a right arm, and you lifted stuff and you worked out with it and it was strong. And then one day you realized you had a left arm too. Would you expect yourself to be able to pick up 50 pounds with it? Or would you be like, okay, this can take a minute?
Yes.
So, but as an authority, of course, you would be hard on yourself immediately too, because you are an achiever that way. So, yes, you absolutely can. But it's a process of like, okay, how can I invite a space for innovation in? And one of the ways people have used I am in their teams that is most exciting is when they have exactly this insight as a leader, they go, oh, wow, I am strong in this and I'm new to something else. Marie Forleo is also an authority, a fire authority like you. And I just did a little interview with her for my podcast. And she's done B school year after year, and just she has the process. But she recently added Dream Club to her offerings, which is a very Maven-y thing so I was asking her, I was like, how is that for you? Because being with people is so not what the authority wants to do on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
You did a membership program too with
Yes.
Stu. So how was that for you as a lower innovator and Maven?
Definitely harder for me, for sure. It's something that I had to really step into. I'm curious, what did Marie say? Because yeah, her having like a membership and being around people online like that is not necessarily her style. So what did
Yeah.
she say about that?
She said that she went back to some journals from 10 years ago and found that she had kind of written out some things she wanted to do one day that described what Dream Club was. But she realized that a lot of the things that she does, she ends up doing 10 years later because maybe she's in a groove and in a track and hasn't pivoted. So in her case, it was something that she wanted to do. But you know what? Also, I think it was in those 10 years, she developed expertise in the things that she's now sharing in the Dream Club. So,
Absolutely. I love that you said that. So I have a similar situation where just yesterday at the time of this recording, I opened up my very first mastermind, and it's for 20 entrepreneurial women. And it's something I've thought about forever, but haven't wanted to do. Like, I've definitely journaled on it. I've talked to my team about it. They've all wanted me to do it. My students want me to do it. And I wasn't ready. And someone asked me yesterday, why now? And I said exactly what you just said. I feel like I have the expertise and the leadership and the proof of my strategies working now more than ever. So I'm ready to do something I have to be more social. I've got 3 live events with these women. I'm going to be in their proximity. We're in a Slack channel every day. This is very much against who I am, but I'm ready and excited. So it just took me a long time to get there. And so I think you make a great point that we can be other things like the Maven or Innovator. We're not going to be naturally there, but there's ways to pull it out of us, and maybe it just takes more time.
it does, exactly. So your authority DNA needs to feel like you have paid your dues, earned your stripes, have the credentials before you step into an authority position. And, now that you are, and you've done this for X number of years, you feel like, okay, I've got enough where I could. However, like there may be times that, I would pay attention to what comes up for you that does feel kind of confronting or makes you second guess yourself because it's such a great area to grow. I mean, those are 20 extremely lucky women, but that doesn't change the conversation that's in that thought bubble over your head where we all have that quote unquote imposter syndrome because we're comparing ourselves. This is what I love about I Am in astrology too. It's like there's not one way, it's not a one size fits all version. And you get to be human. It'll be really great because you'll be with peers and you won't be the one authority expert, but you'll be with people maybe who are even farther in their career than you are. And it'll be so interesting to see how you navigate that. But I think it's amazing that we can learn and grow throughout our lives too. So if you adopt a lifelong learner's mentality, that's for all of us, not you, for everyone, then it's a game. It's fun. It's a chance as me as an innovator, of course, getting excited about the future and all the growth for you.
So true. So true. So I want to talk about how the book relates to this because one, from a marketing perspective, is brilliant what you've done. So I want to talk about that. But two, more importantly, how it can change lives and help people become more of what they already are. And also in entrepreneurship, step up, have a voice, do their thing on their own terms. I love that you said it's okay to do it in your own way. And this is allowing you to do so. So I think that's such an important message. But anybody who takes this I Am assessment, what is your hope for them? What is the goal of this?
I love that question, especially as an innovator. My hope is that they go from discouragement to confidence and belief. Because there are so many people that come to us and they like, oh, I have this little idea. You know this too. I have this idea, but I don't know if it's good. And they're keeping this inside for so long and it haunts them. They keep coming back to it and wanting to do it, but they don't know how, they don't know if. So my hope is that they see that they're perfectly designed, that there is a pathway for them to start. Yes, they may need to like if they're low on authority, sticking with it might be a little challenging. They're probably going to want to have an accountability buddy. But my hope is that they'll also see by seeing where they're low or high on the I am, that they will find a solution to balance out that.
Yes, that's what I really love about it, that once I understand who I am, how I operate, my strengths and weaknesses, and where I live, which in the past, and that makes perfect sense. I'm always trying to chase the last goal, which doesn't always support me, for sure. It's something that I have to be careful of. But it's like, at one point we were trying to chase something that I just don't think we'll ever get back. And my CEO said, like, we just have to let go of that. We're going to set a new goal, a different goal. We're letting go of the past. And so I see where it comes up for me, but I also see how it could serve me as an achiever. Like, let's go. We hit 5,000 students last year. Let's hit 5,500. What are we going to do so? And I can help more people if I have that.
Yeah. And I have to say, I have learned so much from when you share it. Like, I'm 6 Innovator 4 authority, so I do need some authority. And I whenever I need authority, I put on one of your podcasts or watch one of your videos, because I'm like, you simplify that like journey from one goal to the next too. As an innovator, I want to hop around. I'm like, I need to discipline myself a little bit. And you actually have perfected that. You make it seem attainable as an authority. So, but I totally could see how you would be. Sometimes it's time to just make a radical break from what you've done before. I mean, between the Google algorithm updates, the pandemic, AI, the market changes, it's like web traffic, for example.
It's just very wildly different today than it was.
Yeah.
Like, even when we think of Facebook ads, we're never going to get like 20-cent leads again. So yeah, we got to just let go of the dream. But
But you might need to have a yearly mourning for it, you know?
so true.
Facebook ads, pour out a little liquor, RIP.
It's so true. I need my moment. But I just see how this assessment helps me move forward with who I am and have more grace and forgiveness for the things that I struggle with, but also areas that I can improve. So talk to me about how this book is connected to the assessment. And from the marketing perspective, you take the assessment, but to dig in deeper, I know it's the book. And I love the marketing funnel of that. I think it's brilliant. So kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you for teaching me how to make one.
It's brilliant. It's so good.
It's your work, so you can take credit for that.
Talk to me why the book and why the assessment alone is not enough, and why people should get this book. Because at the time of this going live, your book just came out yesterday. So
I know, I'm so excited
there. You can get it now.
Yes. So you take your I am quiz, you find out a little bit about a paragraph or so about your type, but then the Astrology Advantage, which Simon & Schuster is publishing, so very exciting. Big deal. That is, and it's our first hardcover and our first audiobook, so you can get it in every format you want. So you get the book, and it'll tell you how to apply I am to every single area of your life: communication, team building, workspace, family, parenting, relationships, dating. It even has the astrology behind it, because some of our people are astro geeks and want to know how it works. We have an introduction where I talk about astrology as spiritual technology and why a skeptical, educated University of Michigan, 25 years business owner would use astrology. And the difference between a skeptic and a cynic, because a cynic, people who say they're skeptical about astrology are often actually being cynical. They're dismissing it without even giving it a chance. Say, just try it. If it doesn't work for you, great. I don't care. There's nothing, it's not a belief system. It's a tool. It's a technology. If it's not the one you want to use, there's 1,000 others. But when you get a chance to tap into it, like the insights you had, Amy, like those will help you. I'm always reading up on neuroscience and things like that. I was reading about what happens when people get overwhelmed and stuck. And apparently, if they get a little bit of reassurance and validation, it causes the brain to produce dopamine, which is motivational. So it'll get them buoyed up to go back into action. And all we need is that little bit of dopamine. So if your I am report makes sense, validates you, you feel seen, it creates relief, hope, and you're like, I could try that. And then that's a snowball effect, that little first step, right? So
I'm excited to read the book, but now that I have the assessment, I love like even specifics like your workplace and how you explained it. What you explained is my office. So right now I'm in my studio, but I don't do my work in here. I just record in here. So if you went into my office, you said this, you said there's one main desk and there's a bookshelf, minimal, exactly mine, and maybe an award. To the right is the newspaper where my New York Times was listed. There it is, right on the wall. But that's all there is in there. And I love nothing on my desk. I just got to focus. So to read about that, okay, so that's already who I am and what it looks like, but I feel validated. Like, this is who I am and this makes sense and this is where I'll do my best work. Keep going, Amy. Like, that's the word. That's how I feel when I read stuff like that. But I also know that in the book, you're going to share a lot of stuff that I could tweak to be an even better entrepreneur.
Oh, 100%. There's compatibility too between the IAMs and Astro Ayurveda tips, how to balance the chart for what you have, floor plan. We're also, one of our bonuses is a set of branding guides because, like I said earlier, Talia and I went to art school. So for many years, while we were, for the first 10 years of our astrology career, we were also building websites for entrepreneurs and authors. And I've kept my computer and design skills going over the years. And so we have color and font and style guides. I have to say, since we are on, you and I are on video, all those colors are behind you, total authority, all the neutrals with the little plant and green. I mean, 100%.
I am who I am.
Uh-huh.
So funny. Okay, so you mentioned bonuses. So if they get your book, they'll get bonuses.
Yep. At the time of this recording, bonuses. We're also going to be doing personal branding with your I Am workshop this fall.
Oh, that's cool. So an actual workshop of personal branding?
Yes, because I really love to apply it. And when we do those astro audits, because you want to align the way you are an incredible example of an authority whose personal branding is so correct. It's clean. The palette is minimal. You use a nice sans serif font. It's like accessible. It conveys authority. So a Maven might go like completely like breaking the grid, handwriting splashy, neon colors. Innovators will like do clashing colors and very avant-garde-y kind of things. So yeah, but when I want to learn something, I usually end up on an authorities platform because it's clean and it has enough of them, but not so much I can't find my way around to how do I do this?
I love that. This is so fascinating to me and really fun too. I mean, we got to put the fun back in growing businesses. And I work with people that are frustrated and confused and struggling and they're looking for answers and they want to make this work. So there's a lot of that. But I have to remember we got to bring some fun and light into this as well. And I felt there was a lot of fun in this that I could learn about myself and accept about myself. So tell everybody, okay, first of all, I'll put this all in my show notes so you can go to my website. I'll have it all listed. But for those of you just listening now and you're dying to get there, first of all, where do they go to get the assessment?
Go to astrostyle.com/IAM. It'll take you right to the quiz. You can do the quick quiz, or if you click on the I am diagram, that'll do the full with the fire, earth, air, and water. And that is actually our whole new success section of our website. So by the time this comes out, it'll be built out even more. There's articles about compatibility, you can learn a little more about your I am there. The book has everything. So definitely buy the book and you'll get all the bonuses.
So that's my second question. Where do they go to get the bonuses if they buy the book?
Okay, well, you can get to them right from that page, or you can go right to astrostyle.com/astrology-advantage. That's the name of the book. Or, Astrology Advantage is at, Barnes & Noble, all the independent bookstores, Amazon. You can get it there too. But I do recommend getting it from us so you get our bonuses.
Okay, perfect. Okay, fantastic. So even if they just go to your website, which is
astrostyle.com.
all of it, you'll find it there. But also we wanted to give you the links. And a lot of the times I have to tell you all, and we're going to be wrapping up, but when I bring someone on, I don't want the whole episode to be about their book because I want to add a lot of value and talk about different things. But this one felt different because I had to talk about this assessment. I was so excited about it, but the book is so perfectly aligned with it that I want to shout it from the rooftops. Like, dive in, learn more about yourself, and learn how to even show up in a bigger, better way of who you are. So I'm a big fan, as you know. I'm really excited about your new book. So congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
And I think my final question would be, what's one little piece of advice you would give entrepreneurs that are trying to build a business that truly aligns with their strengths? They want to be themselves, but they see all the things they quote unquote should be doing, and they kind of lose themselves. So what's the best piece of advice that you give entrepreneurs that are trying to build a business that aligns with their strengths?
That happens so much. And underneath the question of what your strengths are, is like, who are you for others? What is the problem that is a big enough problem for other people? Because a lot, it's like a lot of people start businesses like, I love doing this, I'm just going to make a business. Well, does anyone actually need it that way? It does matter. And I believe you can find a way where what you love to give overlaps with what people really need. And the more you figure out who you are, your personal brand, which I am, is a really important tool to help with that you could use. The more you align those things, the more likely you are to find that real. I mean, I still obsess over that, but I'm like, I help people who feel discouraged, disenchanted, defeated with their current life in some way, find hope, relief, validation, and excitement again, and rekindle the spark. So do people need that? Yes, they do.
Absolutely.
But now I got to find out where they are. So I call it the four-part formula: people, problems, places, and things. Who's your person? What is their problem that's big enough? Where are they? That's the places. And then the things that you're giving them should come out of that.
I love that. And doing this assessment, learning more about yourself, diving into the book will help you get there a whole lot faster in a really meaningful way. So my friend, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've been looking forward to this, and I can't wait to hear from all of you about what you are. So go take the assessment, jump into my DM. So I'm at Amy Porterfield. Tell me what you are. I want to know. Do you want them to tell you as well?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay,
please.
Tell them where to go. Where can they jump into your DMs?
Follow us on Instagram at AstroTwins. And we'll make sure there's something the day that this airs too, for
something a little special. I love it. Thank you, my sweet friend. I so appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
So there you have it. For those of you who love astrology and this interests you and you want to take the assessment and you're all for it, I love that you are here. And for those of you who never thought to pair astrology and entrepreneurship and you were a little bit skeptical, but you're glad you stayed until the end, I'm glad you stayed into the end because I'm probably a little bit more like you, but I just found this fascinating and I'm always looking for ways to show up as my best self. So I hope you listened with an open mind, and all the links for the assessment and the book, they'll be in the show notes. And I just hope you got a lot of value here. And I think the best message from this episode is give yourself more grace. Love yourself a little bit more, be kinder to yourself, and just know that you are doing the very best you can. All right, my friend, I can't wait to talk to you again with more entrepreneurial goodness coming your way. I'll see you soon.